Hello and welcome to your first video lesson. Today we're going to talk about the introduction to integers, and this is video lesson number 1. For our lesson and every lesson that we're going to have moving forward, you are going to need the notes you were given in class. They're always yellow, and this one should be labeled TOC number 1 in the top right corner. You will also need a pencil or pen to take notes. No crayons because you can't read it. Pencil or pen. And it's also always helpful to have a highlighter, marker, or colored pencil nearby so that you can highlight keywords. You're really going to need this for this lesson. So take out your yellow TOC, and while I explain what we're going to be doing, you go ahead and get ready. So our goal for this lesson is to be able to identify and represent integers. Our SOL also wants us to be able to compare and order integers, but we're not going to be there just yet. So hopefully you have your pen, pencil, and highlighter. We're going to go ahead and dive into this vocabulary. So for number 1, the vocabulary at the top, integers is the fancy word. It's not intigers, it's integers. And that simply refers to a set of whole numbers and their opposites. And when we say opposites, we mean positive versus negative. And I want you to underline and highlight the keyword whole numbers. We're not talking about fractions or decimals. We're only talking about those numbers like 1, 2, 3, and their opposites, which would be the negative version. So -1, -2, and -3. Positive integers are those numbers that are greater than 0, and those are located to the right of 0 on the number line. And when I say those numbers that are greater than 0, those are the numbers you've been working on since kindergarten. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up, and it never ends. So those are your positive integers. We're just calling them something new now. Negative integers is what's new. Those are the numbers or integers that are less than 0. They're smaller than 0. And those are located to the left of 0 on the number line. And so those are the -1, -2, -3. Can you have a negative fraction or decimal? Yes, but for integers, we're only talking about the whole number, so we don't have to worry about those yet. Opposite integers are the two numbers that are an equal distance from 0 on the number line. So if I said 5 and its opposite, you would say 5 and -5. 7 and its opposite would be 7 and -7 because they're both 7 units away from 0. And that is actually going to tie into the last vocabulary word, which is absolute value. We will have an entire lesson on this, but for now, let's just write down that that is the distance from 0 on the number line. And I want you to underline the word always, because absolute value is always positive. And we'll talk a whole lesson on that. Don't worry. Just take a second if you need to, pause the video and take these notes so you can get them all in. At the bottom of your page, we have this little diagram, and I'm going to read what it says. It says you can show that an integer is positive by writing a positive sign in front of it that looks like a little plus sign. However, do you ever see those little plus signs? No. So if an integer other than 0 does not have a sign, you can assume it's positive. We don't write those positives because it would have confused you when you were learning your numbers. So if you see the plus sign, it just means it's positive. If you don't see one, it's also positive. And you can also show that an integer is negative by writing a negative sign in front of it, and that negative sign is going to look like a minus sign. Don't call it -5. It's not -5. It's -5. All right, let's start in the middle. That is the 0. 0 is your middle of the road guy. He's your referee. He's neither positive nor negative. He's the one calling the shots. He's in the middle. He's neutral, I guess you could say. And then on the right are your positive numbers that are greater than 0 or bigger than 0. I like to associate those with the color green because I like to tie things to money because money makes sense. So green means I have money. And negative numbers are less than 0. That means I don't have any money in my bank account, so I make those red because I don't want those. So go ahead and pause the video, take a minute and write these down. Negative numbers, remember, are less than 0, but I want you to notice on your number line. This is where students get confused. When I start at 0, 1 and -1 are both 1 unit away from 0. Look at the negative side, what's happening? It goes -1, then -2, then -3. So as I go more into the negative side, my numbers actually are getting bigger. But technically, they're smaller. We'll talk about that more in class. Flip your page over. We're going to talk about some keywords. You're going to need a highlighter or colored pencil here. We've already broken this up to make it easy for you into negative and positive situations. Your SOL wants you to be able to read a situation, highlight the keyword, and recognize is that a positive number or a negative number. So let's start with the negative because that's new. So the first situation says 6 feet below sea level. Well, if something is below, it's under. So the key word there is below, and since it's 6 feet below, my integer would be -6. I didn't say this right now, but sea level is actually technically 0. So that's, if you see sea level, we'll talk about that in a minute, have you write it down. But 6 feet below sea level would be a -6. Go down 1, a drop or loss of 3 degrees. A drop or a loss means it's going down. Anytime you're going down, I want you to associate that with negative. So a drop or loss are your keywords. Go ahead and highlight them. And since it's 3 degrees, a drop or loss of 3 means it's a -3. The last one on the negative side says I owe $4 in the bank account, means I spent more than I had in my account. That means they're going to be calling your mom and saying, hey, you don't have enough money in your account, please pay more. Owing them money is not good. So owe is your key word, and when you owe someone money, that's negative, so it's a -4. Let's jump over to the positive side. We have a temperature rose 7 degrees. Rose is your key word. Like how I'm using green here to show that it's a good thing. It went up 7 degrees. But when I write the number, I don't write the plus sign. I don't have to, because if I just write the number 7, you understand it's a +7. 500 feet above sea level, remember sea level is 0. If I'm above sea level, then that would be a +500. And the last one, a gain of 16 yards. If I'm in football and I gain 16 yards, that's a great thing. That means you made a first down. So gain is your key word. 16 is your number, so it would be a +16. Now, is gain always a good thing? When you get to weight, not so much. But gain means it's going up, so it would be a positive number. Go ahead and pause this if you need more time to write this down and highlight those keywords, because you will see these come back in the future. Let's look at some practice. If you want to go ahead and pause the video and try this on your own, that's even better. I want you highlighting the keywords and then writing the integer for the situation. Before we get started, let's remember that sea level is 0. Whenever you see the word sea level, and the SOL test loves that word sea level, make sure you know that that is 0. So write that down. Looking at number 1, if you're coming back, we're looking at a withdrawal of $10 from the ATM. That means I walked up to the ATM and I got $10 out of my account. So withdraw is my key word. And since I took it out of my bank account, that means my bank account went down. So it's going to be a -10. A loss of $30 means I lost it. That's a bad thing. So that would also be a negative number, or a -30. 1,820 feet above sea level. Above is my key word, and that would be a +1,820. Oops, went ahead. A 14-foot drop. That means I'm going down. So that would be a negative 14. Sea level, we know, sea level is the key word, so I don't have to highlight anything. And I wouldn't highlight it a specific color because sea level is just neutral. So it's just 0. And the last one, this is probably the most important, put a star next to the number 6 because you're going to see this word again and students get confused. Deposit is your key word. Deposit means I'm putting money into my bank account, which means my bank account is going up. I'm getting more money in my bank account. So that would be a positive 150. So you need to know that word deposit and withdraw because you will see those come back on assessments. So for the bottom little section on the back page, we're not going to tackle that yet. That's the comparing and ordering integers part. We're going to do some more investigation and do some more scenarios in class. So we will finish those notes in class. Don't worry about those for the video. Just put this back into the TOC or notes section of your binder, and we will get it back out in class. And now it's time to show what you know, which means you have a job to do. You need to go back to the OneNote that you logged into and you need to take the homework quiz. There is a series of short questions that you have to answer about this video lesson and what you learned to show that you were paying attention. So make sure you go on and log in and do that so you get credit for this homework assignment.